Hello everyone and welcome to Callsign Charlie Models. It is time for another inbox review, and today we have another great kit. We have one from Lukgraph, the Grumman Duck J2F-5. I'm really looking forward to looking into this kit. I have yet to see a Lukgraph kit in person. They are all 3D printed, and I am really looking forward to seeing how detailed this is, because with the 3D printing they can go super detailed on all the kits. So really looking forward to this, and I've seen some of their stuff online in the web shop, and this kit, I'll explain to you why this one got drawn to me first in a little bit, but some of their other ones I'm really looking forward to getting in the future. So going on with the top box art, we have some great box art of it, or artwork of it taking off or landing from the ocean. And then on the sides we have two of the decal options right here. We have one from the Fleet Air photographic unit of the Atlantic 3, and then we have one from the Argentinian Navy right here. And then we flip it over to the other side, we have another US Naval one. And the main reason why I wanted to get this kit was the US Coast Guard version. As some of you may know, I retired from the Coast Guard a few years ago, and really love the history of the US Coast Guard, especially during World War II. A lot of people don't know about the involvement of the Coast Guard in World War II, and when I start building this one, I'll go a little bit more in depth with that, and some sea stories and all that. So it should be a really fun build on this one. So this right here was the main reason why I wanted this kit, was to be able to build a World War II US Coast Guard aircraft right there. Alright, so we open up the box. We have some nice box right there. It's kind of flimsy, but it's covering up another just plain white box right here. And then we open this up and greeted by the instructions and decals, and then everything is nicely wrapped. We do have a nice little sticker as well of the Grumman Duck included in this kit right here. So I'm gonna have to find some place to stick this, maybe on one of my work mats or something. And then everything else is very nicely wrapped. Now I'm hoping that everything survived. It did go from Poland to Indiana to Colorado and then back to Kentucky. So let's hope that everything survived. It looks like everything's packed well enough, so it did. So I'm going to get everything set up and set off to the side, and then we can start going through the instructions, decals, and all the 3D printed parts included in this kit. So give me 1 second and I'll be right back. Alright, so we're starting off with the instructions. We have a nice little booklet right here. We have the general characteristics of the duck right in here, with the actual specifications of it, with two crew and then 2 survivors or passengers, your length, wingspan, height, all that, and your power plant going on, and your performance. And then we have a nice little history right here of the actual duck as well. Then we open it up, and then we have our can't call them sprue callouts, but we'll just call it 3D part callouts right there. And then we start off with our cockpit. So we do have 3D printed instrument panel with some decals that go on, and for that. And then we have some more pictures. Now it is looking a little bit confusing right now. I'm not sure on if this is a final picture of how the cockpit is supposed to look, but we do have a lot of detail going into this kit as well. Then we flip it over to the next page, and then we have our fuselage halves. We do have a little bit of detail to go into the side. We have our clear parts that we need to cut out for that, and then painting, and then we are working on our actual cockpit. So yeah, that's a little bit confusing how they have this right here all done up, and then we start with our actual cockpit construction on page 5. So going on, adding in all the parts right here, and then continuing on adding in more parts to our interior and our cockpit. Nice color callouts for all the parts going on. right through there. And again, more detail going on. Looks like we have photo etch seat belts as well. Then we're adding in more detail to the inside of the fuselage and cockpit area right here. And then we are going to be getting everything buttoned up with our 2 fuselage halves, our cockpit, and then a little piece that goes over the main float right here. Then we're starting to work on our engines, getting our engines all put together. Looks like they were going to be very nicely detailed on that, as you can see right there. And you'll have the engine cowl that will cover it up, but they do have the set right here that has the engine cowls open. So you'll definitely want to get this if you want to show off all that work that you do on your engine, and I'll go through this at the end of the video as well. Alright, so up next we are adding in our gun, getting our gun or camera, depending on which version you are doing. If you're doing the photographic reconnaissance version, you'll want to use the camera. If you're using any of the other versions, you're going to use the gun. And we're also working on our tailplane right here as well. After that, we are working on our wings right here, getting our ailerons on and wing sections in. We do have some brass rods to attach to add some strength to the wings, and then we also have our struts going on. It looks like they do have metal cores on those as well. Alright, after that we have our landing gear. You can do the landing gear in the up or down position, and it does look like we do have the weighted on wheels option for our wheels as well. And then we do also have a cradle for the as well, if you want to do it in the wings up on the deck, which I am going to be doing for this build. I'm probably going to do a aft section of the stores to put this guy on. Alright, and up next we have our canopy section. Canopy is a vacuum form glazing with the 3D printed canopy framing. So the 3D printed parts for the the framing is going to be very nice, so you can paint that all separate, and then you can go in and add in your glass work right after that. Alright, and then we do have the tail wheel section. We do have the option of having the flaps or the water rudders open or closed. And then we do also have the option of having depth charges or bombs included in this kit as well. And then it has at the very end a nice rigging scheme right here, and also shows you the dihedral of the wings and also the landing gear. If you look, the wheels are canted in a little bit instead of just straight vertical. Alright, and then moving on, we have our rigging. Looks like we have some photo etch rigging braces right here, and then a 3D printed bracing hold or wire stay right there, just going on with all the rigging right there, and then some other photo etch parts going on as well with our grab handles and such. Alright, and then we have some more clear parts going on right through there, and then antennas and a few other wing nut parts going on and clear parts going on right there. And then this kit also does include a couple of figures included in the kit. They do look, from the artwork right here, they look pretty good, and you have a painting instructions for your figures as well. Then we have a picture of the completed kit, so very nice. Alright, so our decal options are the Escuadrilla de Observación, Escuadra Aeronaval Número 2, Base Aeronaval Comandante Espora 1956, there for the Argentinian. There, and then we have the one that I will definitely be doing, hands down, no doubt about it, the Grumman J2F-5 Duck on board the U.S. Coast Guard cutter Stores, March of 1944. So this is during one of their escorts across the pond during World War II. So again, definitely going to be doing this one right here. And then we have the duck from Segi Point Airfield, Solomon Islands of 1943. Again, if I was going to do another one, this would probably be the one I would do, but the Coast Guard one wins hands down, for me at least. And then lastly, we have the duck from the Fleet Air Photographic Unit in the Atlantic of 1941. So again, very nicely done. Some very nice decal options for this, and I'm really happy that the Coast Guard finally got an option with a World War II aircraft. I'm super stoked for all that. Alright, so up next we have our decals, and the decals they look very nicely done on here. The stars and bars and everything look very nice. The instrument panels for our decals for our instrument panels again look very nice as well, right there. And then we have the Argentinian right here, the anchor for that, and then you have the white emblem for that. So you'll have to find the blue for the Argentinian flag color, but you do have the white stripe that does have the emblem in the middle right there. And then we have the red and white stripes for the rudder on the photographic duck right there. So again, really nice options. The one that I am doing doesn't look like it's going to require much decals, minus the stars and bars right there, and then of course all of these. Alright, so our first parts are our fuselage halves, and there are a lot of 3D print supports on here, but they are, from what I can see, the connection points are relatively thin, so those shouldn't be too bad to clean up. I am definitely going to be looking into getting one of those ultrasonic knives to help cut off all this, to make life a lot easier on that. But moving on to the actual kit part, the detail on here, all the nice little raised rivets on there, the panel lines, everything on here looks very nice. I'm hoping, let me zoom in just a wee bit, you can see all the rivet detail on there, and when you paint this up and weather it, that's going to look really nice. And then we have the opposite side, same detail, and then on the inside, really can't see much of it right now because of all the 3D print supports. But once you get all that cleaned up, and then we're going to have a lot of pieces that go in there to really liven that up on there. So going to take a little bit of cleanup to get done, but when it's all said and done, this is going to look really good on that. Alright, so up next we have a lot of brass rods, steel rods, for all of our strength included in this kit right here, as you can see. Very nice. I'm hoping that these we'll probably have to cut these down, so I'm definitely going to need to get a sharper saw to cut these. Alright, so up next we have our wings. Now we get two of these blocks right here. So I'm only going to show one of them, but the detail on here, absolutely amazing. All the stitching detail on here, I'm thinking it's stitched, or it might be bolted down for the fabric or aluminum. Not sure what material they used for the wings, but again, really nice detail on all the ribs and everything going on right through there. Again, and then on the reverse side, same level. Do have the 3D print lines on here are not bad. I'm really looking hard for them, and I can kind of see them, but I mean, they're not bad. And once you get primer and paint and everything on there, you're not going to be able to see any of those 3D print lines, because the layer height that they used was so fine, it looks like. So very nicely done on that. Alright, so up next we have our landing gear section right here, the interior of it. So there's a little bit of bolt detail going on through there, but that's about it. Not much to it. You're not really going to be able to see a lot of it with the landing gear down, And if you're putting the landing gear up, you're really not going to be able to see it because it's all going to be buttoned up. But other than that, it does look very nice. Some nice bolt detail on there for that. And then we move on to our wing floats right here. Again, super fine bolt detail on there, top and bottom. They are in half, so you're going to have to glue them together, and possibly, hopefully there's not a bad seam line on them. But again, the detail on those, I'm hoping the camera will pick those up. But yeah, there's some very nice rivet detail on there. Alright, now we have the center section of our wing, and again, same level of detail as on the outside of the wings, or outboard wings, on here. So all looking very nice. That's just a support that fell off, so nothing important on that. So then we have the closed engine cowl right here. Again, really nice bolt detail. The 3D print lines are barely visible. You really have to look hard to see them on there. We do have some gouges right here on the underside and a little bit of a misprint right here. So that is really the only issue that I've seen so far with this kit. And like I said, I have the open cowl version, so I'll definitely be using that now. This would be very easy to fix with some putty, don't get me wrong. Just a little bit of putty and a quick sand over it and you'll get that all smoothed out. Same with these little gouges right here. Not sure what those are for. Alright, so now we're looking at our two pilot figures right here. Again, really nicely done on the figures with the harness and the life jacket and all that. Are they the best 3D printed figures I've seen in 1/32 scale? No, but they are pretty close. And it's, like I said, once you get everything painted and highlighted and everything, these are going to look really nice. And maybe do a little bit of extra sculpting to kind of put in some more detail. But again, you can see the sunglasses on this guy right here, and then the naval officer's emblem on the cover right there. And then you have his parachute on the back side. Parachute does look very nice with the detail on that. And then we have our other pilot again with the sunglasses. He is missing, I can't tell if those are ears or the back end of the sunglasses, but so yeah, I mean, pretty nice. He is smoking a cigarette right there, if you can see that. So again, the figures, they look pretty good. Are they better than injection molding figures? Yes, I will say that. So yeah, these should look pretty good when they're all painted up. Alright, so up next we have the cradle for if you're going to do landing gear up version. Again, looking very nice. Some nice detail on the sides right here, and definitely going to look really nice when you put it on a deck or of some type, or the ground, or whatever you want to do. But again, really nice addition to this kit right there. Alright, so up next we have our control surfaces right here. Had a little bit of a white gunk on it, but doesn't affect the detail on this, because the rivet and panel line detail on here, absolutely amazing. On both sides, as you can see right there, that one looks good. And then we have our, I think this is our rudder, possibly. Again, looking very nice with the stitching detail and our trim tabs and everything on there, looking very, very nice. Alright, so now we're moving on to our engine and the detail on the engine. Alright, so the cooling fins, everything on this, Absolutely amazing. And this is just from the back side, from what I can see. Can't really see much of it on the front side because of all the 3D print supports, but I mean, again, the detail on this engine is absolutely amazing. And you're definitely going to want to get that open engine cowl set, so that way you can show off the detail on this when it's all done, because there is still a lot more to go onto this. As you can see right here, we have our intake right there. You can see all that detail. I'm not sure what this little piece is. Oh, it's a marker. And then you can see all that detail right in there. We have this piece is broken off the supports because the supports are so fine right there. Call them Mickey because they're so fine. But yeah, you can see the exhaust pipe. The exhaust pipe is hollowed out. Alright, so you got the tip here, right? And it is hollowed out all the way to back here. So this is going to be very fragile. It is very thin, so definitely going to want to be very careful with that. But the detail on here, again, very nicely done. It should go together very nice. Then we have our propeller blades and our propeller hub right here. Again, nicely detailed on that. The other exhaust, same deal right there. You can see how far back it is hollowed out right there. Then we have all the spark plug wires and our push rods and everything going on that piece. Gonna have to be very careful when cutting these off the supports, because there's a lot of very fine detail on that piece right there. The spark plug wires are very thin on that. And we have the engine mounting frame right here. Then we have the exhaust manifold right here. Again, looking at all the bolt detail and everything that's going on right there, absolutely amazing on that. Just absolutely amazing. And then we have the front housing for our propeller shaft and a few other detail parts on that. Again, looks absolutely amazing. All the bolt detail, the difference in the elevation between the parts, and some of the very small detail on there. I'm absolutely amazed by the detail on this. Alright, so up next we have another cast block of our depth charges right here. Again, looking very nice for that. As you can see, really looking nice. We even have our bomb racks on there. We have our oxygen tank right here. A lot of very small pieces on there. Then we have, I'm not sure what these are for. Looks like possible throttles or something like that on that. Alright, so up next we have some very small detail pieces. Not sure what these are for, but they are very, very small. Then we have what looks to be our ailerons right in here. Sorry, I had it a little bit too close. But yeah, you can see same stitching and rib detail as the rest of the wings on that. Alright, so now we're moving on to our braces, and the braces look like they have very nice detail. And the other bonus feature to this is that they do have holes drilled out or printed out in them, so you can feed a metal core in through the middle of those to really add some strength to those. So that is a nice design feature in that. I'm not sure what these pieces are, or if they are supposed to be bent like that. They are a little bit warped. But they should straighten out fairly easy if needed. with maybe just a little bit of a heat gun or a hair dryer to kind of heat it up and straighten it out a little bit. But again, the detail on the struts and the fact that you have the printed core in the middle, so you can have the brass supports in there for strength. And then we had the same deal going on with these braces as well, with the cores. This one is a little bit warped, but when you get that brass rod in the middle, that's going to straighten that right out. Alright, so starting off with the wheels. Alright, so wheels, the detail on it, really nice. Nice tread detail, the sidewall detail, Goodyear, all that looks very nice on this set right here. And then we get another set, I think. Yeah, this set is, alright, so we have one set with the weight on wheels right there. As you can see, there's a little bit of bulge on the bottom. And then we have the set of wheels for that, the raised version right there. So again, nice that they included both sets as an option for us on this build. Then we have our water rudders right here. This is how they steer the boat or the plane when they're in the water. So we do have the option of having it closed or open. And then we also have our landing gear or our tail wheel right in here as well. So again, very nicely detailed on that, and very thin printed parts as well. Okay, we have some more detail pieces. Not sure what these are for. Looks like possibly an antenna or a light or something right there. Then we have our landing gear pieces right there. See, all the way around. Another piece of our landing gear. Again, nicely detailed all the way around. Then we have that top piece for the main float right here. Can't tell if that's a stress crack or stress. It looks a little bit folded up, but we'll have to take a look when we get everything cut off on how that looks when it's cleaned off of the supports. Alright, so now moving on to our clear parts, we have some vacuum form parts. We have these clear film right here. This is for the side windows that go on the lower side of the fuselage right there. And then we have our photo etch right here for our seat belts and our rigging that's going to go on. And then we also have some fuses for our bombs and all that going on right there. So a lot of detail pieces going on right through here. Again, seat belts, photo etch, we'll have to make it work. And then our vacuum form canopy right here. The vacuum form, I can't tell. There's two of them, but there's a little bit of a fog to it. So I'm going to have to see if I can polish that up or fix that up, because it's, yeah, there's a little bit of like a haze to it, like it's a little bit dirty. So I'm going to see if I can polish that up when I build it. But then we have a couple of lights. So we have that clear vacuum form for our nav lights. We get this in green, orange, and clear. So gonna have to, you see these three little bumps right here for our nav lights right there. Alright, so now we're moving on to some of the interior detail parts. It looks like some of our framing and such going on. As you can see right here with this, we do have some very nice wiring going on in there, and then some more detail going on right through there, and rivet and framing detail all along through there. Not sure if this is going to be a visible side or not, so But again, there's no issues with this side either way. Then moving on to this bulkhead right here. Again, some really nice detail included in this piece. All the bolt detail along the sides of the frames right here. And then I can't tell, don't know where this goes yet. Alright, so we have our cockpit floor right here. Again, really nice detail on this all the way around. You get this painted up and weathered, this is going to look really good. And you even have some detail on the underside right here. Hoping you can see that on both sides right there. And then our control yokes for our front and back seat going on right there. Alright, so now moving on, we have our side panels with our throttle levers and all the other levers included and all that. So all the detail on here looks really, really nice on that. Then our instrument panel going on right through there. Again, very nice. And then we're going to have decals that go on the reverse side of that and in here as well. The only thing that's going to be needed is a little bit of the UV clear resin to add in that glass face right there. I can't tell if this is a broken piece right here. I'll have to look at the instructions and see if that's supposed to be like that or not. It looks like another piece, yeah. Little piece broke off. That's the back end of the instrument panel right there. That's where the decal is going to go for that. Then our control stick right here. Alright, up next we have another bulkhead of some type. Can't really see if there's any detail because of the 3D print supports. But from what I can kind of see, it does look like there is a little bit of bolt detail along the top edge of that. Alright, now we have another bulkhead. Again, really nice rivet detail on that. And the 3D print supports connecting that are super fine. So they shouldn't be an issue on cutting those off. And then we have this piece right here. It looks like a possible seat or something. Got a horn going on right there. And then we have another piece right in here. Nice detail on those. Alright, so now we have another bulkhead. Looks to have our rudder pedals attached. So some nice detail on that. Then we have our pilot seat. Some nice rivet detail in the seat. Very fine rivet detail on there. And then we're going to be putting the photo etch seat belts and everything on there. So it's going to really help liven that up. And then on the back side, as you can see right here, we have some nice detail on that piece as well. And then we have some oxygen bottles going on right in here. Alright, up next we have, looks to be an ammo can holder right there. Again, really nice rivet detail, bolted in, all that going on right through there. Looking very nice on that. Then we have, I think these are ammo cans right here. Looking very nice on those. Then we have our gun mount right in here. Again, very nicely done on that. Then we have what looks to be our gun and the barrel. I mean, even the little bullets right there. I'm hoping that the camera will focus. The bullets are actually individually there. I mean, each tip of the bullet is its own tip in there. So that, again, just absolutely amazing for that. Alright, now we have another bulkhead. This one's just a plain print. There's no detail to that one. right there, and then we have these radio boxes right here. Again, looking at all the detail that's on those radio boxes, and then you even have the start for your wiring right there. So adding in a little bit of lead wire to that piece at least, you can really liven up the cockpit even more than what it's already going to be. So I mean, the detail in this kit is absolutely top notch. Okay, so now we have another radio bulkhead right there. You can see the radio right there, and then on the reverse side, not much detail to it. A little bit of detail for what's going to be visible right there, but that radio detail looks very nice indeed on that. Then we have a couple other, I think this might be our trim wheel. Then a few other parts going on right through there. Then a radio antenna and a couple other boxes to go into the cockpit right there as well. So again, a lot of very nice detail in this kit. Alright, so now we have our last part to the actual kit before we get into the aftermarket stuff, which all I have for this is the engine cowl set. And this is the actual framing for the glass work on this, and it does look very nice. Nice and thin, so when you paint this up and then you attach the clear parts through it, it's going to look really nice on that. So again, it's going to add an extra level of detail on here with that. Alright, so now we're moving on to this engine cowl set. Let's see what it looks like. It's definitely going to be worth money. With the detail of the engine that we just saw, I think this is going to be a definite must-have for this kit, because that engine is going to look absolutely amazing, and then you're going to cover it all up with that engine cowl. So definitely going to want to leave this open on here. So we're going to pull out all these bits right here and see how everything looks. So being very careful, because this ring is very, very thin on here. It's I do wish they cut off the block. Yeah, they cut off the block right here. I wish they would have left that on to help add some support, because you can see I'm barely touching this and it is folding, and if you were to add in a lot of pressure or anything like that, it would definitely snap. So that's one downside, but on the upside, the detail on this is absolutely amazing. For all the bolts and everything, you can put some missing rivets or something like that in there, add in some detail on that. And then we have this face right here. Again, some nice bolt and panel line detail on that piece. Then we have our engine cowl covers right here. Again, really nice bolt detail on the outside. Inside, again, we have the reverse side of the rivets, and then some nice detail on the inside of that as well. And then we have the front cowl ring right there. Again, not much to it, but we do have that nice little lip right there to add in. So if you want to, you could have a couple of these engine cowls off and then the other ones glued on, kind of like that or so. Alright, and that's it for the engine cowl. Alright, so that is it for the Lukgraph 132nd Grumman Duck J2F-5, and the kit looks absolutely amazing. All the detail that's in the 3D printed parts, absolutely gorgeous. The photo etch, everything, just mind-blowing right there. The only downside that I have right now is the vacuum form. The canopy, it had a little bit of a haze to it. I'm going to have to see if I can polish that out. And then the very minor issue of the little scuff and such on the front engine cowl, but I'm not going to be using that because I'm going to be using the other set with the engine cowl open. So that's not really a huge issue for me on that. The decal options, like I've said before, I'm super stoked to have a Coast Guard option, especially from World War II, included in this kit. So I am really looking forward to that. It's another one that's close to the heart for me. So I'm really looking forward to getting into this one here in the very near future. Actually, I have one more that I want to get done. It was a gift from my niece and nephew for Christmas, and then this one, I think I'm going to do a double Coast Guard build with this guy, and then the 135th Jayhawk as well. And then some of you might be watching this and you might be asking me, what about the Catalina? Catalina is on hold right now because I am working with ResKit for the engines, with the design and everything. So I gotta send something off to them, and then they gotta do their job, and then hopefully we can work it out so I get the corrected engines back. So that's on hold for now. Don't know how long that's gonna be. So until then, I'm gonna fill my time with the Cauldron G3 Late, and then this guy. But other than that, that's all I gotta say about this kit. I am absolutely amazed by the quality of it, the detail of it. I cannot wait to get some other Lukgraph kits. They are pricey. Don't get me wrong, they are pricey, but from what you get in the kit, it looks like it is absolutely worth the money. So yeah, I am super excited about this, and I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you're interested in getting this kit or taking a look over at some of the other kits they have, I'll post the link to their website down in the description area of this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and comment down below. And until next time, I hope you guys have a great day, and you stay frosty, and happy modeling.